The bedrock of our democracy is the rule of law, and that means we have to have an independent judiciary, judges who can make decisions independent of the political winds that are blowing. All the rights secured to the citizens under the Constitution are worth nothing, and a mere bubble, except guaranteed to them by an independent and virtuous judiciary. Being a part of exhibitions is not a burden, it's another way for an independent label such as mine to reach a larger audience by exposing them to my whole body of work. We now occupy the proud attitude of a sovereign and independent republic, which will impose upon us the obligation of evincing to the world that we are worthy to be free. This will only be accomplished by wise legislation, the maintenance of our integrity, and the faithful and just redemption of our plighted faith wherever it has been pledged. I believe that an independent judiciary is the crown jewel of our constitutional republic. Cats are very independent animals. They're very sexy, if you want. Dogs are different. They're familiar. They're obedient. You call a cat, you go, "Cat, come here." He doesn't come to you unless you have something in your hand that he thinks might be food. They're very free animals, and I like that. Apparently a great many people have forgotten that the framers of our Constitution went to such great effort to create an independent judicial branch that would not be subject to retaliation by either the executive branch or the legislative branch because of some decision made by those judges. I did not find living alone difficult. In fact, it was such a liberating feeling because simple things like ironing my clothes, doing laundry, making my bed made me feel independent and gave me the sense of accomplishment that I can do it myself. Financial independence is paramount. My mom always says that when a woman is financially independent, she has the ability to live life on her own terms. I think that was the soundest advice that I ever got. No matter where you go in life or who you get married to, you have to be financially independent, whether you use it or not. There is in fact no such thing as art for art's sake, art that stands above classes, art that is detached from or independent of politics. Proletarian literature and art are part of the whole proletarian revolutionary cause. I lived with my parents in Belarus, and I went to Russian kindergarten, which is where I learned Russian. Belarus had just become an independent country, there was no food in the supermarkets, so it looked very post-war, very Soviet. I was raised to be an independent woman, not the victim of anything. I have an independent streak. You know, it's kind of hard to tell an independent woman what to do. Pride is an independent, me-oriented spirit. It makes people arrogant, rude and hard to get along with. When our heart is prideful, we don't give God the credit and we mistreat people, looking down on them and thinking we deserve what we have. Mankind is not likely to salvage civilization unless he can evolve a system of good and evil which is independent of heaven and hell. To think that you can, as a Zionist, Jewish independent state at the end of the 20th century, rule over another people for generations without having any consequences, it's ridiculous. I'm a teenager, but I'm independent, I have my own apartment, I have my own life, and I think I have learned more than any of those teenagers have in school. I learned to be responsible, leaving my family and coming here alone. I think it is the height of ignorance to believe that the sexual act is an independent function necessary like sleeping or eating. Seeing, therefore, that I did not desire more children, I began to strive after self-control. There was endless difficulty in the task. The mother-child relationship is paradoxical and, in a sense, tragic. It requires the most intense love on the mother's side, yet this very love must help the child grow away from the mother, and to become fully independent. There's no such thing as an independent person. Charity is injurious unless it helps the recipient to become independent of it. Time is the most valuable thing on earth, time to think, time to act, time to extend our fraternal relations, time to become better men, time to become better women, time to become better and more independent citizens. I like being a strong, independent woman, and to be honest, I was never afraid to be on my own. Follow the path of the unsafe, independent thinker. Expose your ideas to the danger of controversy. Speak your mind and fear less the label of crackpot than the stigma of conformity. I am no bird, and no net ensnares me. I am a free human being with an independent will. Fortunately, there is a project that will create jobs, provide direct investment in our economy, and move us closer to our long-standing goal of becoming energy independent, the Keystone XL pipeline. Nature never said to me, "Do not be poor," still less did she say, "Be rich." Her cry to me was always, "Be independent." True elegance for me is the manifestation of an independent mind. The essence of science is independent thinking, hard work, and not equipment. When I got my Nobel Prize, I had spent hardly 200 rupees on my equipment. I wanted to be an independent woman, a woman who could pay for her bills, a woman who could run her own life, and I became that woman. Make a choice: continue living your life feeling muddled in this abyss of self-misunderstanding, or you find your identity independent of it. You push for colorblind casting, you draw your own box. You introduce yourself as who you are, not what color your parents happen to be. Although I'm only 14, I know quite well what I want. I know who is right and who is wrong. I have my opinions, my own ideas and principles, and although it may sound pretty mad from an adolescent, I feel more of a person than a child. I feel quite independent of anyone. Problems in our country haven't been caused by Donald Trump, America and its ambitions or CIA spies. Our problems are rooted in a bad government system, the lack of free elections, independent courts and freedom of speech. Cats are the runes of beauty, invincibility, wonder, pride, freedom, coldness, self-sufficiency, and dainty individuality, the qualities of sensitive, enlightened, mentally developed, pagan, cynical, poetic, philosophic, dispassionate, reserved, independent, Nietzschean, unbroken, civilized, masterclass men. People want to start their own business or become financially independent. But you don't end up a successful entrepreneur unless you find a way to love the risk, the uncertainty, the repeated failures, and working insane hours on something you have no idea whether will be successful or not. The best way of learning to be an independent sovereign state is to be an independent sovereign state. Labor is prior to, and independent of, capital. Capital is only the fruit of labor, and could never have existed if labor had not first existed. Labor is the superior of capital, and deserves much the higher consideration. The principle that a central bank, charged with controlling inflation, should be independent from the government is unassailable. It may also be true that it's easier for the central bank to guard its independence from political pressure when it mainly holds government securities. Temptation is just the feeling that you're the most independent person on planet Earth, that you know everything. That's something that we all go through as a kid. Now, this lifestyle that I'm in, the same thing exists. But it's 10 times worse, because everything is at my disposal. When you're in the limelight, you can get anything you want. Activists need to educate themselves about the power of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, invented in 2009. And use crypto to leverage the success of their independent media gains to tip the balance of power away from the troika in ways that could never happen by backing a political candidate. A mind cannot be independent of culture. The tendency to aggression is an innate, independent, instinctual disposition in man. It constitutes the powerful obstacle to culture. My mother told me to be a lady, and for her, that meant be your own person, be independent. It is easy to be independent when you've got money, but to be independent when you haven't got a thing, that's the Lord's test. I've been misunderstood when it comes to women. I've got a big heart and a little brain, but I love women being women. There's something about their skin. I do love strong, independent women, but they are definitely complicated. I have grown up alone. I've taken care of myself. I worked, earned money and was independent at 18. It is very nearly impossible to become an educated person in a country so distrustful of the independent mind. The rule of law means that law and justice are upheld by an independent judiciary. The judgments of the European Court of Justice have to be respected by all. To undermine them, or to undermine the independence of national courts, is to strip citizens of their fundamental rights. The rule of law is not optional in the European Union. It is a must. In bourgeois society, capital is independent and has individuality, while the living person is dependent and has no individuality. In all history there is no war which was not hatched by the governments alone, independent of the interests of the people, to whom war is always pernicious even when successful. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.